other people. Okay, well. So
I call that Murray's Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get started. I'm really bummed out today because I've been growing grapes and the deer, which I thought I had them taken care of. They ate part of the leaves and everything else. I was really upset because I had all these little teeny grapes starting to grow, little teeny grape bunches. So we'll see. It's now totally protected, but okay. All right, we're ready to start here. Welcome again to the B'nai Yeshurun Thursday evening cooking class. Today, of course, as you may know, we're going to talk about Puff the Magic Pastry. First of all, I wanted to thank my producer, director, and cohort, Chad Cohn, for everything he's done. That introduction was, you know, a sheer work of genius, and I expect more out of him each time. The recipes didn't come out with the stuff because I was kind of experimenting with a lot of things. So they are together. Chad will put them on the chat today so you can get them, and we'll have them there. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit history of puff pastry because, you know, it's like, where'd puff pastry come from? I'm sure you asked. And originally it came from France, and it was invented by this apprentice baker, Claudius Gale. And he was at the end of his apprenticeship, and his dad was real sick, and his dad could only have a diet of water, flour, and butter. And he came up with this puff pastry, and the chef said, you know, no one's going to be able to, the butter's going to leak out. Well, it worked out great. Although I don't think it was so great for his dad because all he gave him was carbs and fat. And I figure if he wasn't feeling too good, he'd probably died right away anyways. But it was a great invention. And then this guy went to work for these people, this bakery in Paris. It was the Moscow's pastry shop, and they took a lot of the credit, but everybody knew this is the guy who invented it. And so we're real happy he did it, except, you know, we use Pastry farm stuff. Doesn't have all the butter. They came up with a different formula, and it's a lot easier to work with. If you want to make your own pastry, it takes a lot of time and effort and skill, and that's something that I have none of. So we'll go with Pastry farm. And okay, so there's a lot of, let's see, okay. Now there's a lot of puff pastry recipes on the internet. In fact, there's like hundreds and hundreds. And people are very creative. And none of these recipes that I have, I think, are on the internet exactly, because they came to me from other people and from my own doing things. The one person I really want to thank is my friend, my great friend, Sevi Samuels, who's like the greatest Jewish balabusta he ever made. And she came up with these and shared some of these with me. So I'd like to thank her and give her all the due that she deserves. And in fact, if you ever go to her house to have dinner, it's like the best thing in the world because you get lamb chops for an appetizer. I mean, God, who could imagine? All right, so that's about that. We'll get started a little bit here. I just wanted to show you one other thing here. I got this little gadget I use in the kitchen. It's a you know, a scale. And it's like really cool because like when I was doing some of this stuff, I said, how much do I use? So I could weigh it. And it's, you know, a digital scale. And what it's really good for too is if you ever get like pennies and you put them in a roll and you want to take them to the bank, but you don't know if they're the right amount. And I do it, a lot of times I have Mary's granddaughters, Abby and Molly, come over and help me do it. And we always weigh them so we know exactly the right amount. So this comes really in handy. And also, you know, I guess if you're into drugs or anything, it might help too. So, you know, that's your thing, not mine, of course. I'm worried about grapes growing only. Okay, so we're going to start out with, let's see, the chicken and kishka stuff. So I'm going to put the thing down so you can see what I'm doing here. Now, I'm going to make 2 small ones and 1 larger one. The puff pastry, of course, has been defrosted. If you notice on the package, you can defrost it in the microwave. You can let it sit out. There's a lot of different ways to do it. It's not a big deal, but you want it usually a little cool to work with. Now, one other thing I want to show you before I start. This is a little puff pastry thing that I made just to show you it. You see all the little leaves of the puff pastry. This is without me smushing it down and rolling it out or anything else. I personally don't like all this. It's like way too pastry, you know, there's just too much of that there. So I tend to not use it like this. And also, if you read the health thing in the Pepperidge Farm, you could get like all your fat for a week by just eating a few of these things. So you got to be a little bit careful. Okay, so we're going to start out, and you could roll this thing out if you want to increase it in size, like this or like this. Of course, I don't really roll it out. What I do is I sort of just smush it out, and I make it into a big square here. So we're going to smush out a couple squares. And that's what we're doing. Okay, and what I probably should have done, of course, is told you this, is put a little flour on the board, but you know, what the heck, can't remember everything. So we smush it all out, and this will be for the bigger one. We'll smush that out too. And enlarge it. And I like it real thin. That way it doesn't have all those layers of pastry. You still get the effects of the puff pastry, but it's not so pastry. You know, it's like you have that stuff, it sticks to the roof of your mouth. It's like, you know, it's not fun. So we get that all together. Okay. And then what we're going to do is I'm gonna get my chicken and kishka, which I have at the side here. While I pull that out, I'll show you, I have these little pigs in a blanket, you know, obviously puff pastry over little hot dogs. I've never made these. I buy these. They got a place called BJ's Wholesale Club here in Cleveland, and they go for like maybe 20 cents a piece or so. So much easier. Just take them, throw them in, no problem whatsoever, and they're lot kosher, so you can't get better than that. All right, so I'm going to take a little piece of chicken here. I cut some up, and you see, okay, and we'll put a little piece of there right in there, and then we're just going to cut a little piece of the kishka. And I don't know how much exactly. I guess I could weigh it and measure it. Try to get a little bit more. And then all I do is take the end and the other end and this end. Okay. And then I put it like that and get it all together. And I turn it over. Okay. And we'll make another one just to show you. I just had a little piece already cut. Cut the kishka. And do that all over again. And just see them. Now, a lot of times you can wet the pastry a little bit to get it to stick together. Of course, I forgot to put my little bowl of water here, so it's okay. And then we'll do the big one. So we'll get a bigger piece of chicken. So like, you know, these could be hors d'oeuvres, and this is obviously could be an entree. Okay, so we just take a big piece of chicken there, maybe a few little pieces. What the heck? All right, cut up. More kishka. And it does all the seasoning, all the flavor comes from this kishka. This is Tibor's kishka. Very good. Kosher butcher. Tell them you know me. I'll charge you double. So this, we just do the same thing. Just sort of smush it all together, get it all like that. Okay. And just turn it over. So then we take a little bit of the egg stuff, wash it off, our beaten egg. We do this, and then I'm gonna get my tray and put it on there so we can bake it in a little while. Just wash it off, put it all everywhere. Lots of mess. One thing about me, Mary will attest, if it isn't messed up, I will mess it. Okay, so I'm just gonna take these over there. Be right back. Okay. So then we'll go on to the next thing. Now, everything we're doing today is either parve or meat. So we're doing something a little later. We have a video because I didn't want to mix the meat and the milk and, you know, all that kind of stuff, because this is B'nai Yeshua. Okay, so we're going to do our second one. And our second one is going to be, the salmon. This. Okay, salmon, and spinach, and mustard. So this is probably the most fun thing I ever do in cooking, because it's really not cooking. This is a can of spinach. Now, you know, when I was a kid, I loved spinach, and my mother used to get me this spinach. Of course, I found out, you know, it's probably got enough sodium to, you know, raise your blood pressure 80 points. But it's like really good for this. So, but what I do is take the spinach. This is what Sebi taught me, and you squeeze it. This is like so much fun. You squeeze up all the moisture as best you can out of the spinach. So we just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. It's just having a great time. It's good for the muscles and builds character. So you can see all the liquid coming out of there.
Oh, thank you.
And I guess you can like drink the juice if you really like it. You know? Okay, I'm gonna. Usually I can get it down to about the size of a golf ball, but I don't want to spend the whole night squeezing, although I really enjoy it. So we squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Okay, that's good. So we can take that out. And then we'll do our same thing. We'll take our puff pastry here and we'll smush it out. Okay. Can you see everything okay, Chad?
Yes, looks fine.
Okay, good, because I have like no idea. Okay. And we'll do our smushing again. Again, I could, you know, just roll it, but, you know, that's like, it's not as much fun. And this is all fun for me. You know, because when you lose your grapes, you're kind of sad. So you have to have fun somewhere. Okay, so we smush that out. And so I cut a little bit. I'll cut a little bit of salmon there. Okay, then we take your mustard. I have stadium mustard. I have ballpark mustard. You can take any kind of mustard you like. But you just put a little dollop in the center of this stuff. Then you take your fish, put it on top. And the big size one, we'll put one up there. And then you take your spinach and you just lay that on top. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you could use frozen spinach. And this thing has a little more flavor to it, though, I'd say. Then we're just going to put it together again. So my fingers, now I can wet it in the spinach juice if I have to get the pastry to stick together. Okay, we put one like that. And then we're going to put another one like this together. Sometimes when they cook, it comes apart a little bit on the bottom, but really doesn't affect too much. And I just sort of can round it out a little bit. Very nice. Okay, then we go with our big one. Spinach juice. This one's not perfectly square, so.
Hey, Murray, there's a question asked.
Yes.
How big is a can of spinach? I usually buy it frozen in a box.
Okay, this says it has 13. This is, of course, Popeye spinach because, you know, you shouldn't use any other brand. And I think it has 13.5 ounces. So, you know, I think if you have one little frozen block of spinach or a little out of a bag, you don't need a lot of spinach. I'm going to have a lot, you know, left over here for this. Now, if you're doing a whole sheet of puff pastry, you could get like 9 of these guys out of it. So, you know, if you're making appetizers, that would be a good thing. So, okay, so we got to go back. And of course, looking for my little brush. Okay, I'm going to brush these guys up. And that's just beaten egg. You could use egg wash. I guess use egg whites, but I just. And you always can put your own little touches on these kind of things. So, all right, I'm going to take them over to here. Okay. That's 2 different kinds of smashed puff pastry. Okay, so we'll get rid of this. And our juice. Okay. And then we go back, do a little flouring. Okay. Now this one I put down in the recipe for the third one. This is a vegetarian one. And I put down to use a third of the Pepper Farm pastry. You know, it comes like in thirds, but I had to cut this off for another reason. So we have a little bit of less than a third. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to leave the length of the rectangle the same. We're just going to roll it out here. So maybe we'll just roll it a bit. And I was like measuring this. It's like 5 or 6 inches that you roll it out to. Okay, so we got it rolled out. Not perfect, but you know, don't tell anybody. And then I have some, okay, so I put down in the ingredients like frozen stir fry. Well, I did this fresh. There's onions and mushrooms and peppers and broccoli and carrots in here. And what we do before we do that is we, at the suggestion of Mary, of course, we put a little hoisin sauce in. We put some on, and then we're gonna spread it out. And that gives it a real nice kick to it and flavor. And you could also stick like some, I didn't want to open them, but water chestnuts in here if you want for a little crunch when you do it. So this one, what we're going to do is just sort of make a roll rather than the individual dudes. So we'll just put that down. And then we're just going to put this stuff in the middle, sort of. Yeah, it's interesting. The sun's shining on half of my thing here. Okay. All right, so then we're going to bring this together. And Close it over and pinch it a little bit. Pinch the ends. And we'll turn it over. If we were going to make it vegan, we could use, what do you call it, coconut oil or whatever, but we're just going to use a little egg stuff for this too. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and put this stuff all in the oven. I'll just show you everything we're putting in. And then after that, Chad's going to play a little video of something we made with some dairy stuff. When you see it, there's a few places that I kind of cut the video a little bit, so I'll have to explain it, but it's not too bad. But let me get the rest of this. Okay, so we're gonna. Okay, so that's how everything looks, ready to go here. And I'm gonna put it in the oven at 400 degrees for the next 15 minutes. And Chad, if you would, play our video. Thank you. So we are going to make some cream cheese and Parmesan asparagus cigars, a wonderful appetizer. First, we flour we take 1/3 of a sheet and start to roll it out. We want it to be about 5 to 6 inches. So we roll it out and roll. Okay. Nice thin sheet like that, and spread it on the puff pastry. It says about 2 ounces. I just sort of put it on. Usually it's better to have the puff pastry pretty cold at this point so it doesn't go all around as you try to smush it on. It doesn't. But get some more on. Spread it out as evenly as we can. I'm using a giant spatula because I don't have a little one. And sometimes with my very clean hands, I can even finish the spreading. But right now I'm getting it pretty good. Okay, just a little bit more. And we're good. This is whipped cream cheese, so it may not spread quite as easy. All right, so we leave that. And now we're going to, so why do we put this in the refrigerator? Because we're going to be cutting this, and when it's soft, it's really hard to cut. So I want to get to that right away, but I also want to say that I cheated a bit and stuck this in the freezer for a little less time, so that's just the way I did it. All right, we're going to cut little strips here. I'd say about, I don't know, how wide, not too wide. You see it kind of sticks together. So you have to do that carefully. And try to maintain them nice and thin. And we'll keep cutting. You can use this, or maybe a pizza cutter would be better, probably quicker and easier, but I don't know where mine is. So we will do this way. This one's a little too thick, but that's all right. So we're going to do one more, and then, okay. So we'll take a break here. Hold on. Okay, very good. So we have these. So now I've gotten out the asparagus. Now, I use frozen asparagus for a few reasons. Number one, because they're like all the same size and they're small, and that's really good. And they just cook up nicely when we do the thing. You can use fresh asparagus if you want, but I always find the sizes are really hard to judge. So then we're going to take this and just kind of wrap it around. Do one here. Now you can kind of stretch these out a little bit too to get a little longer wrap. So we've done that one and this one, and as you pull on it, it'll stretch out a little bit. It looks a little nicer. Pull on this first a bit, and then you can again just put this in and wrap away. I always wanted to be a rapper, but I just have such a lovely singing voice that I stuck with with singing. Okay, let's do one more right now for the bit. Just simple wrapping. Okay, so that's that. Okay, now I did the last two. You can see they were a little fatter so that they cover up a little bit more. So next, we're going to do the next item. And that's to take our egg, to round up our egg that was all beaten up and just paint these suckers. So we're doing that, just nice paint job. Paint along very nicely. And, you know, if you're more artistic, you probably could do a better job, but, you know, we'll just fill it in here. Okay, we'll get the last one in just a moment. So you can see it. And that's good. Okay, so those are all painted up. Lovely. Make sure they're good and solid. Okay, and then next we put on a little Parmesan cheese. You can use a spoon or your fingers, which I like my fingers. Get right over it. Don't need a ton of it. Sticks to the egg, of course. And we get the last one here, and that's about it. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to take these and put them on some parchment paper and a cookie sheet. I've preheated my oven to 375, and I have the convection on, so you can check your oven. It could be 375, it could be 400. Okay, so here's these guys, if you can see them. There we are on the sheet. All right, next you'll notice that I have some more stuff. Well, I could make more of this, but what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move it over here. Of course, I'll put the egg there. And I'm gonna do something a little different for a minute. Okay, I'm pushed away some of the cheese there, and I got this puff pastry, a little cream cheese. So I'm gonna take some cinnamon sugar and just sort of inundate that with it. And then I'm just gonna roll this all up and maybe break some of it off like that. Or we can cut it nicely, you know, that'd be good too. And then what I do is like with puff pastry, you just play around. So I just made some little cinnamon sugar guys. I could put a little egg wash on them, just to brown them up a little bit. And then I'm going to put them also on the cookie sheet. So put the cookie sheet back, put them on there too. And that's that. So we're all together on the cookie sheet. Or somewhere like that. Okay. So I put them in the oven, and we put it in for about 10 to 12 to 15 minutes. We'll just have to check them after about 8-9 minutes. I put them on the top shelf because I don't want the bottoms to burn. In my oven, they tend to burn if they're in the middle shelf. And we'll just take a look at them as they go along. Okay. So is this. Truth be told, I did flip these at about 8 minutes, and they cooked for a total of about 14 minutes. The asparagus cigars, lovely to look at, lovely to eat. Okay, we're back live. Okay, just a couple things on those asparagus cigars. I learned that if you shake the Parmesan cheese on the cream cheese, then before you roll them up, and before you put them back in the refrigerator, it sticks a lot better than you can save just a little bit of the Parmesan to put on the outside. So just one thing. Okay, any questions on that? All right.
I'll switch a setting so people can unmute themselves if they have any questions. Nothing's in the chat.
Okay, well, we're going to go on to the next thing.
Okay.
The other stuff's still baking, so okay. And yeah, we had some guinea pigs, and we fed them the asparagus cigars. I wouldn't eat them first, so I gave it to these people, the president of the synagogue, and she's still alive today, so that's a good sign. Okay. So while they're baking, we're going to go on to one other thing here. So I took some of these little squares, I got 3 to a third of each of the puff pastry, and I pushed them out a bit. And then I'm going to make a little desserty thing. Okay, so we're going to make some with, cherries. Now this is, I got a little cherries from cherry pie filling. We'll put some there. And usually I do like 3 or 4 cherries. A lot of the goop, I try not to use as much goop as it comes with it, but it sort of takes over. And then we have some that we're going to do with lemon too. And besides just putting those in, I like, it seems like if you put a little chocolate, I figure there's about 10 of these guys, 10 of the chocolate chips. It kind of adds a little extra flavor, and chocolate and cherry just go together pretty well. And then we have also some lemon pie filling. Just dab that on, sort of in the center on a little angle there. And then we're going to put these together, but we put them together kind of like this. And then just want to make sure we pinch it, get a little water there, and pinch it together. And again with this one, same deal. And got a little cherry on the outside. I think it's acceptable. And put another one here. And it'll ooze out the sides a little bit, but they come out like, I'll show you in a minute how they look. But we'll just get the rest of it. Kind of made a mess here. But not everything's perfect. Maybe oh, good. My sleeve got in here. Now I really have to wash. I was trying to not roll up my sleeves. All right. Hey, it happens. This is live. This is America. Thank God, it's still America, I think. All right, so those are how those dudes will be. And we'll put them on later. And then I'm going to move that. And then this is how they all come out. So I didn't put any like egg wash on these. I just sort of did that, but they come out really very nicely. And they're a nice dessert, not too much of the dough, as you can have it with these kind of things. Okay, Let me go check and see how the oven is. In the meantime, talk among yourselves.
Talk, 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 talk.
All
Are
right,
you
so
talking? Oh,
it says here, okay, it said there's about a minute or two left, but so they'll usually go brown up a little bit more, but let me get a knife, which I took all away. Cut into some of these, a little hot to cut into them, but. Okay, so this is our kishka and chicken. I'm sorry, this is the salmon. And it's a nice bite of salmon. And here's a kishka and chicken. Very good. And here's the vegetarian. And this I'll slice it into pieces. My oven's telling me it's done. Okay, so you slice it and you can serve it a little bit cool. It's very good. Mary even liked it. So that's about it. Just before we wrap something up here, just let you know, next week, Tova is going to do a session called This and That, featuring at least walking tacos and a round banana bread. I feel like I'm in the shadows here. Okay, and then the week after that, the very famous baker, Hetty Milgram, is going to do a challah with some new twists. And I think that has to do with braiding. So something to look forward to, okay? So does anybody have any questions?
There is a question submitted. You're going dark a little bit there.
I know, here.
But if you make the larger entree size of the,
Yes.
how long do you bake them for?
I pretty much the same time. I'd probably make it a little bit longer, but it's about, so I'll probably stick this one back in. In fact, I'll do it right now. Excuse me one second before I'd like to mess it up. Yeah, so a little bit longer, but you can kind of tell. Okay, thank you. So, with cooking time, like you kind of gauge. It's like, I mean, my cooking, there's no hard and fast rules. So I just sort of see like when it's done. So for sure everything's cooked through in 15 minutes, probably with all of it. You probably could go a little bit longer with the big ones. So, yes, anything else?
No, I think individuals should be able to unmute themselves if they have any comments, but.
I asked.
Oh, it's fresh spinach. I would think it's probably okay, but I don't know. The other spinach has a little bit more kick to it, I think. But I think you could use fresh spinach fine. In fact, someone mentioned to me today that they had a dish with fresh spinach in it that had puff pastry and salmon. So I would think it would be fine and probably healthier.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Murray.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's about it. Anything else?
Thanks,
Are you-
Murray.
Your theme for tonight made me a little nostalgic. So I did look up Peter, Paul, and Mary's Puff the Magic Dragon. As people are leaving, I can play a video which will answer the question that some people have wondered, and that is it a song written about drugs?
Get it. We're not wondering.
And the answer is,
Well, just hang on.
and the answer is, the answer is blowing in the wind.
Yeah, well, the guy who Who invented this stuff?
So we
Okay, go ahead.
Seems you know that little ditty. Once upon a time, a long time ago, in a far-off land by the sea, there lived a much maligned dragon.
Yeah.
Don't you know that it was really a pity, because there never was a different meaning other than the obvious one. But the magic dragon is only about the loss of innocence of children. And now you can tell your friends that you've heard it from the dragon's father's mouth. And another thing, you'll notice that we're singing this song earlier in the program than we ever sang it before. That's because many of the children who used to come who were very young would fall asleep before it was possible for them to hear it. So all that goes to show is that even after 25 years, a group like us can still learn something new. Sing it with me now. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Annalee. Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal Puff and brought him strings, sealing wax, and other fancy stuff. Sing it out now, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Annalee. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Annalee. And together they would travel on a boat with billowed sail. Jackie kept a lookout perched on Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes would bow whene'er they came. Pirate ships would lower their flags when Puff roared out his name. Hi, I'm Puff. The magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Annalee. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Annalee. Oh, a dragon lives forever, but not so little girls and little boys. Painted wings and giant's rings make way for other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more. And Puff, that mighty dragon, he ceased his fearless roar. His head was bent in sorrow, green scales fell like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane. Without his lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff, that mighty dragon, sadly slipped into his cave. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Annalee. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Annalee.
Bye, Murray.
Hi. Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you, Chad, very much for everything. You did a splendid job, and we're gonna go to Hollywood next.
Thank you.
Or-
Well, everybody.
Thanks,
Okay.
Murray.
Thank you, Murray.
And don't eat too much puff pastry because it's really fattening.
But it's delicious.
You got
But
it.
it's-
Thank you, Murray.
Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
take care.
Hi, Ted.
Everybody stay safe, be well.
Two.